Good morning, everyone. Cynthia Motters here for AmP&x. Today we have another wonderful guest, which I'll intro in a minute. But before I do, for those that are just joining and aren't sure what AmP&x is all about, we are a brand that is shining a light on abuse. And every week or so, we have guests that come on. A lot of them are survivors of abuse, and they've talked about their stories and what they went through. And it's really been helpful to kind of shine a light on the red flags and how they had their aha moments and how they got out of it. And then we also have a lot of clinical psychologists or experts in the field that help us and give us tools on how to manifest a healthier lifestyle or how to spot things and be more aware, because a lot of us get conditioned in situations and we just kind of have blinders on. We also have our peace pendants, and for every one of these that are purchased, we donate $1 to Peace Over Violence, and they help people escape a violent situation through transportation. And we're going to talk to Monica Borschel. Welcome.
Thank you. It's nice to be here. Nice to see you.
Yeah, nice to have you. And I was doing a little research. I'm going to give your bio, but I think you talked about how important it is to, when you are trying to escape, how, you could be at risk in a very big way. And during that time, that critical time. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But just for our audience, Monica Borschel has her master's in clinical psychology. She's pursuing her doctorate in psychology for a PhD, and she has a PhD in social work. And you specialize in, this is a new one for me, so forgive me, but brain spotting and high conflict coaching, right?
Yeah, and so I'm a psychologist in Hong Kong as well, where I specialize in attachment loss and trauma.
Okay.
So most of my clients have been abused as children or abused in their marriage, abused in a relationship, unfortunately.
Yeah, so talking about that spectrum, it could be divorce, it could be physical abuse, sexual abuse,
Emotional. Yes, sexual abuse, emotional
emotional.
abuse,
Okay, so
verbal
you
abuse.
you cover the gamut
Yeah.
in terms of trauma.
hmm
And what is brain spotting?
So brain spotting is an offshoot of EMDR. EMDR is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing therapy. Quite the long name. But it uses the eyes. This is EMDR, right? Uses the eyes to desensitize trauma, because when a trauma happens, sometimes it's stuck in your brain to the point where it comes forward and it feels like you're reliving this trauma all the time.
Mm.
And so when that happens, you can't, your thalamus goes offline, you can't access your frontal lobe. It's hard to think clearly, function. I don't want to say not function, but you might have alarm bells going off in your relationships. Something
Mhm.
might trigger this trauma. So with
Yeah.
EMDR, it kind of puts the thalamus back online so you can access your frontal lobe. And then the memory becomes in the past where it belongs, right? So it
Oh,
doesn't always come forward all the time. So with
so is
brain,
that where something like might get triggered and it's back
yes,
there and it comes in the front and then you're all like, I can't focus and I can't see
yeah,
which way the path is. And so
yes,
this procedure helps like compartmentalize it, kind of put it back where it needs to go.
yeah. And so brain spotting works the same way. And so instead of your eyes moving back and forth, you look at one point and you process. It sounds very weird, I know, but it is very
It's
effective.
interesting though.
Yeah.
And I'm always curious, like, what led you to this path? I mean, did you have an abusive situation and so you educated yourself to help others? Because I find that a lot.
Oh man, that's a long
And
answer.
only if you want to touch on that.
um, I started my career as a graphic designer, and
Oh,
then
wow.
I felt like the media and marketing was in a way manipulating the public, right? It's a very abusive actually. Um, so then I went back to school and I studied a lot with attachment, and then my master's was on grief. My PhD was on grief, but along the way, I became more interested in trauma
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because sudden loss is also a trauma. And then a lot of my clients were coming to me with a long history of abuse.
Oh.
So that's when I looked into EMDR and brain spotting, and I researched more about trauma and the way it works.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And well, I think I also read that, you kind of try to help define certain strategies for people that have experienced trauma. And I'm sure those strategies, which I'd love to talk about what some of them are, but that being said, I'm sure all of them have to kind of be customized to, whatever that given individual has gone through. But there might be some strategies that could just be helpful on an everyday basis for somebody.
Yeah, sorry, my dogs are barking.
Oh,
Can
that's okay.
you still hear me?
Yeah,
Okay. So basically, if you think about someone, okay, so there's different kinds of trauma, right?
yeah.
You might have an acute trauma response, which is very normal.
Mhm,
And that kind of naturally passes with time. But when you start to develop PTSD or complex trauma, your nervous system is wired a bit higher.
mhm.
You become hypervigilant, you're looking for threats in the environment, and so you're getting these alarm bells, right? So let's say you got in a car accident and now you don't want to get in the car. And so every time you think about the car, you feel very heightened.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, over time, it's learning how to bring down your nervous system. It could be through mindfulness, meditation,
Mhm.
exercise, anything that helps you decompress.
Right.
And then kind of talking yourself through the false alarms, which might feel very real, right?
Yeah,
It could be like you start dating after an abusive relationship, and all of a sudden you see all these red flags that are false, right?
right.
Just because it's a man or a woman, they look like that person, have a similar name,
Mhm.
whatever it is. And
Right.
so learning how to decipher, is this a false alarm, real alarm? How do I bring down my nervous system and relax everything?
Mhm.
That's something people can do by themselves, right? Some people like
Right.
journaling, um, CBT, you can buy journals, all those kind of things.
Mhm.
For the deeper processing, I found EMDR and brain spotting is really helpful because
Mhm.
CBT is great, right? It's looking at the thoughts, but it's kind
Yeah,
of surface. It's
yeah,
not getting to the deeper nervous system. Um,
right. Now, and I think when people experience various traumas, um, they probably put up walls,
yes.
and that trust has been broken. And to reconnect or rebond with people, I would imagine would be challenging. And how do you go about that? And did I read that you maybe talk about self-love in that process? Like that's one of the ways to kind of go through something like that?
Yeah, so self-compassion is talking to yourself like you would someone you love, right?
Mhm.
So let's say you have verbal abuse, emotional abuse, physical abuse. It's all this coming into your brain like, I'm worthless, I'm nothing, people are dangerous. So this is like a bully, right? And it's stuck in your brain and you start
Right.
bullying yourself.
Mhm.
So to counteract that, you talk to yourself with self-compassion.
Mm.
Yeah.
And is that just maybe saying something like, "I am worthy, I can do this,"
Yeah.
that kind of thing?
Yeah, exactly. So, how would you talk to your child? How would you talk to even your pet or your best friend or someone you love? You wouldn't say, "Oh, you're so worthless." You would say, "Of course you matter. Of course your feelings count, right? We're going to get through this. It's going to be okay."
And it is okay. Yeah, I think that's one of the other things because with trauma comes a lot of shame or
Yes.
blaming yourself. But I think just as simply as saying, it's okay to feel this, and I'm okay, and I'm gonna be okay, like manifesting something forward,
Mm.
could be very helpful.
Yes, that's true.
Right? Yeah. And
Mm.
then, one of the other things you said was very profound, and just kind of watching some of your tapes was the first step understanding your situation, like recognizing, and I think it was one that you said about if you're with somebody and you're starting to feel, was it your self-worth
Yeah.
um is
Drop.
eroding? Like
Hmm.
to me, that's like ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it
I
happens over time. And so it's hard to recognize sometimes. So you have to be really self-aware, and not everyone is, and that's okay too, right? Because
right.
if you grew up with abuse, it's just very normal to be told, talked down to, gaslit, lied to, cheated, whatever.
You're used to it.
You're used to it. And
Mhm.
so then how do you recognize it?
Yeah,
Especially emotional abuse.
right. But I think we know that there's something there that doesn't
Doesn't
feel
feel
right.
right. Yeah.
And instead of being conscious and going, wait a minute, I want to listen to this consciously, I think so many people say, oh no, I'm doing something wrong, or that's so silly for me to think that, or they making excuses. And
Yeah.
so I really think like going back to that, if you are feeling like your self-worth, even if the slightest bit has eroded, like I think any partner you're with should be uplifting. I mean, look at, they're not perfect, but you know what I mean?
Right.
You should be a good team. You should feel uplifted. You should be progressing together or by yourself when you're with somebody, not the other way around.
Yeah, you should feel safe,
And
right?
safe. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. And I'm sure you've been with, various people that that's probably a really hard thing to do, is just to stop and recognize that something feels a little off.
Yeah, so sometimes in these relationship dynamics, it starts very romantic,
Hmm.
very almost enmeshed, right?
Hmm.
And so this person that, let's say the abuser, I know it's not a nice word, put you on a pedestal and they
Hmm.
start love bombing you, right? Giving
Right.
you gifts, calling you all the time, and you feel like you're on cloud nine. Then over time, they start tearing you down, and you're like, oh, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I did something. Maybe I'm bad. You pull away, they come chasing you again. So it's this roller coaster. It's an addiction, like a drug. So I'm high.
Yeah.
Oh, the low is awful. I'm just trying really hard to get that high again. So
Right.
maybe I'm chasing you, trying to do what you want me to do. Maybe I pull away. Maybe you chase. So it's just this roller
Roller
coaster. It's
coaster.
addictive. Yeah.
And again, I think, if you've experienced trauma, you've been used to being on a roller coaster. So maybe you don't register that, hey, this isn't fun. You
Yeah.
know, like for me, I like peace and serenity in my life. I don't want a lot of drama. Um, that just couldn't go with me. But for other people, right, they're used to that. And it feels probably normal,
Feels normal. It feels comfortable. And
comfortable.
so it's like this chaos, right? This chaos you're used to. And when, let's say, you're with someone safe, it can feel very boring. Where's the
Hmm.
chaos? Where's the excitement? Where's the,
Hmm.
like you said, drama? Which
Right.
most people might not see it as drama. They see it as excitement.
Yeah. Excitement, yeah, or,
Yeah.
um, that is another really good point. I think a lot of people, they're so not comfortable with the peace and serenity, they have to have the drama. They look for the drama. They might even instigate it themselves to get it going, and then, sometimes it goes too far. But, yeah, I think being more conscious about that is really, really key. And then the other thing is like you were saying, that the risk of, escaping, like, okay, once you're like, oh, this doesn't feel right. I feel like my self-worth has eroded with this person, or I feel like this person is controlling me. Because you
Yeah.
talked about that, like, right? They have cameras, or what are some of the other things if they're,
Oh, the cameras is so awful. I mean, those are like serious
that's the worst.
That's that's when someone is really monitoring you. But it happens.
Yeah.
Um, Isolation. You know,
Isolation.
they
Yes.
talk bad about your family and friends. They don't want you seeing them. They might move you somewhere far away from your family and friends. They
Mm,
might monitor your phone calls. The
mm,
isolation is very dangerous. They
yeah,
do that so you don't tell anyone,
yeah,
right? And so
right.
when you want to leave, where are you gonna go?
Mhm, mhm,
Burned all these bridges, maybe, or people think you've just stonewalled them, ghosted them. You're
mhm,
too far, you have no resources. I had
right.
one case where she couldn't even take the bus without being monitored, so I told her to go get a burner phone at 7-Eleven. I know that sounds very Hollywood, but, you can get phones at
Oh,
7-Eleven
yeah,
that hopefully your partner doesn't find or can't track.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. No, I think that's really key. I mean, I think that, um, it's hard to say, or maybe not for you, but I think it's tricky to say, "Oh, these are the things to do to escape an abusive,"
it's
because it's very dangerous.
it's very dangerous and it's different in every situation.
And it's different every situation because you don't know what you're up against. But there are some things like, I mean, like the burner phone, if somebody is that controlling, if there's some way to get a burner phone, and maybe if there's some way to reach out to your inner circle, right?
Yeah.
And put it on the radar of a family member or a friend, you know?
And that can be dangerous too, because
Yeah.
sometimes this person could be very charming and then try to manipulate people close to you, making you look like the bad guy, making you look like the crazy one. There's cases like that.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
sometimes it's like you have to actually drive to the domestic violence shelter and talk to someone,
Yeah.
drive to the police and talk to someone so it can't be tracked on your email, it can't be tracked on your phone.
Yes.
But it is the most dangerous time because if you leave, you're at risk. You're at
Yeah.
risk for death in some cases, you're at risk for more physical abuse.
Yeah. Well, and if they see that, like you're saying, if they can see that you reached out or contacted someone and there's some kind of trail, that could be a trigger for them that oof, there's
Yes.
no coming back from. So I think that's a really good point. If you have a moment where you're out and you can get to one of these domestic
Yes.
violence centers and dig into the resources,
Yes.
and start to educate yourself, right, on what are the steps. You might not be able to do it all that day, right? But you could start to figure out the path
Mhm.
and
Yeah,
then
it's
find the
hard.
moment.
It's hard because a lot of these coercive control, they take all the resources. They control you through the finances, the money. Because if you do have the resources, it's great to drive to the family attorney because they have also options, legal options. They can
Mhm,
talk to the judge, they can talk to the sheriff.
mhm.
So it's just how many resources do you have? And a lot of people, they don't have it. It's been taken away.
Yeah, I think that's another underlying, thing here is that unfortunately, a lot of the people that are experiencing abuse have come from it growing up or whatnot. Not everyone. I mean, I don't want to generalize, but that being said, there's some poverty issues. And so with that is lack of resources. Because I mean, we do see, and again, not in every situation, but somebody coming from a very healthy two-parent family raised right, usually picks up the good habits and is okay. And I don't know what the percentage is, and I'm not asking you for the percentage, but I would venture to guess that maybe 50% or more have come from broken homes, poverty, and therefore are challenged with resources.
Yeah, that's definitely true. You could even be married to a millionaire, but they give you a credit card and you can only spend so much and they track all of it. Right? Or they
Yes.
don't give you a credit card. They don't give you money. They're like, "Sorry, I don't have anything for you," because if you don't have resources, how are you going to leave? It's all about keeping you to stay, right?
Yeah.
Don't leave. You don't have resources to leave. You don't have friends to go to. You don't have family to go to. I mean, these are the extreme cases,
Right.
right? They're the most dangerous cases.
Or you have children that you have to look after, and
It's true too.
she are the breadwinner, and so it puts you in a very precarious situation. What am I gonna do?
Mhm.
Are there a couple of things? I mean, the burner phone, go to a shelter, tell someone. I mean, you know, what do you suggest there in that
Yeah.
situation?
Do your best to fly under the radar. Right?
Yes, yeah,
Don't be traced, don't be tracked. Um, and that's hard because
yeah,
you are being tracked a lot of the time.
yes.
So maybe, and I don't encourage lying, but maybe sometimes you have to lie. I'm going to the grocery store,
Mhm, mhm.
go see the family lawyer. I'm going, I'm gonna go pick up the baby from daycare, take the baby to the domestic violence shelter. I mean, it is hard. It's not easy.
Yeah. But I think the thing is that if you are in this situation, it is very dangerous. And
Yes.
to do what you need to do to get yourself out of that. Start the movement, start getting out of it. Um, even small steps, right?
Yeah.
Because we've all seen or heard those stories where someone stayed too long or and then it doesn't end well.
Or
Yeah.
they tried to leave and it didn't end well. Yeah,
Tried to
it's
leave. Yeah. Yeah. Um, well, that's all really good stuff. If somebody wants to reach out to you, where do they go? And
I have a long website, but if you Google my name, Monica Borschel, you can find me on social media, my website. You can email me, contact me through the website. Find me on Instagram.
Monica is
Facebook.
MON. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
It's okay. Yeah, I'm pretty easy to find if you Google my name.
Yeah, but for Borschel, it's Borschel,
Yeah.
and
B-O-R-S.
Monica with a C, not a K, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And they can just reach out to you. And do you do like private sessions online or Zoom or in person? What's your course there?
So I'm in Big Bear, so people in Big Bear are in person if they want it, and then the rest would be on Zoom.
Okay. I mean, you're not too far outside of LA if somebody really wanted that one-on-one, a couple hours drive, but definitely Zoom isn't Zoom great. We can now do all of this and do our business on Zoom. Yeah. Well, I want to thank you. And I think it's helpful to have this insight and especially just a couple of things like, to be aware, to understand if you're in this situation, if it doesn't feel right, it's probably not right. And also pay attention to that and watch the pattern, I think, too, right?
Yeah,
And then
definitely.
start to act on it under the radar best you can. But the key and the message is to really get out.
Yeah.
And I always say, God, there's such a wonderful life to be lived with great people and great spouses and great partners, and life is short. I mean, we say that so cavalier, but it's so true.
Yeah.
And, picking the right partner is like, I think 80-90% of your happiness. And so I just think it's just not worth it. Um, Move in the direction that you need to get out of it. Do you have any last kind of words on that front that you would like to leave with our guest?
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said. And remember, if you feel like you're a piece of garbage because of all the abuse, you're not.
Yeah,
And some people stay because they think they can't find anyone. They're nothing now because of all the abuse, and so they deserve it, or they have to stay. You're not garbage. You matter. You count. And there's
that
help out
person is garbage.
there.
The
That's it.
abuser is garbage.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So the victim carries the shame, but really that shame belongs to the abuser.
yeah, that's a really good point. Well, thank you, Monica. I appreciate your time and all the insight. And I hope if anybody needs your help, they will reach out to you. And with that, we will sign off.
Yeah, thank you too. Thank you for speaking to me today, and thank you too for everything you do to help women.
Yeah, we
Well,
hope we're just here to help. We're here to be voices, share stories, have experts like yourself on, and just something will click with somebody at some point and get them on the right path. And that's our goal.
yeah, thank you so much for
All
that.
right.